I like to look down the pipe so I can make sure my bottom is parallel.
We'll start with just like a simple box offset. Half-inch EMT, an old nasty half-inch bender. But with box offsets, it's basically just the tiniest, you're basically just kind of kissing it. The less you put into it, the more you're going to get out of the bend. And so, like some guys will tell you, you know, bend it down 10 degrees. The less that you put into it, though, the more you can add later. So if it's a little short, then you can put a little bit more into it. So I always try to start box offsets at least, you know, an inch or so behind our start point there. That way you got a little bit of room to move if you need to, and you're just popping it a little bit. So we got that little pop there. You're basically going just right behind it. A lot of the box offsets are kind of guesswork. It takes a little bit to get used to them, but like I said before, less is more. You can always add a little bit more into it later if you need to take it out. It doesn't look pretty, but not pretty at all, really. That's better. Just enough to get off the wall and into your KO, right? So, box offset. Just grab a stub 90 for the next one. So on every one of your benders, I'm not going to use this one because it's basically done for. It'll have a mark on it that says your take back. So the mark I'm talking about is your starting point mark. It's usually an arrow. Sometimes it's a star for the back of your offsets. It's just whatever it is up to the bender maker. So on half inch, we got 5 inches, right? So on your take back, I'm just gonna start on the other end of this one. So you got 6 inches back on your take back. I'd start 6 inches, so your 90 is gonna be in this next 6 inches, if that makes sense. And on 90s, any offsets like 30 degrees and stuff, you're always gonna wanna try to find a wall or something solid and level that you can hold yourself against. Use your foot pedal. Most of the time you'd have a level, right? Put it on the end, bend your 90. If you're a little bit over and you're not against the wall, you can always grab your foot, take a little bit out, right? That's basically basic stub 90. So on all of these, like after you're cutting, I don't have a reamer here because I couldn't find it. But you're going to be reaming your pipe to get what off of your burrs and stuff, right? A lot of times if you don't actually have, I wouldn't use a screwdriver, but I've used a set of diagonal pliers. your channel locks, all that good stuff. You're trying to get all those sharp edges off. All right, so I'm just going to do a simple offset, and then we'll move into the bigger ones, right? So we got my start point. I want a 3-inch offset. I'm going to use 30-degree bends because the math's easy. So 3-inch offset times 2 would be 6. So you got your start point. Your start point's at 4. Add 6 inches, that would be 10. It's a good idea to mark your entire pipe around so you don't dog. Sometimes you don't get it straight. But if we're going the easy math formula of 30 degrees, on these Milwaukee ones, there's a little divot, a start line here. You can pop that one at 30 degrees. And like I said, on the box offsets, sometimes you don't need to go past it. You can get kind of close. And you can take a little bit out of it. What I usually do is I send it down like that. This is going to be dog because we didn't measure our 90, right? But bring it back up to our start point. Check again. Sometimes you can kind of feel if you're going a little bit too far. If that 90 wasn't on there, it'd probably look a little bit better, but kind of a simple offset there. So 4-point saddles are basically just 2 offsets together. And you're trying to say, basically like you're trying to get around this, right? You can do a 3-point, but 3-point saddles, for me at least, were really hard because you got to be perfect with it. I would always go a little bit longer and do a 4-point, and it just made my life a lot easier. So you want to get a 2-inch offset. And these don't have to be exact as long as you're not mashing up against the pipe. So just like on the offsets before, I'm going to start it at, well, I'll start it at 2 inches, right? If I want a 2-inch offset from my start point, 30-degree bends, it's a 2-degree, or 2's your multiplier. So basically 4 inches in between that. So 6, and we want a little bit of space in between it. And just make it 2. Two's really hard just because they're all so close. If you can get a bigger offset out of it, as far as your spacing in between, your bends are going to look a lot better. So let's say my next point, I'm putting 4 inches in between those two. So 10's my next start point. Which would be 14. Like these ones are really close, so it's not gonna look. You guys also got to remember that I haven't done this in a while too, so don't judge. Those are gonna be really close. There it is. So we want 30. Thirty. $30. So I'm a little over on my second, but a good trick, especially with 1/2 inch EMT, it's easy. If you're wanting to take a little bit out, instead of starting over, you can take it out that way by stepping on it. Or you can take your end here. Popping a little bit out there. It's a little wonky, but I also haven't bent pipe in like 6 years, so. That one's a 4-point. It doesn't look like one, but if it was a little bit bigger, so. That one's super tight, so it's kind of hard to, I mean. Yeah, like that one there. It looks like maybe they did oh, those look like 30s, either 30s or 22.5. It's a lot wider though. So it's a little bit easier to get those bends in. With that so tight there, I mean, you're kind of messing with danger a little bit there, but. Say again?
What were your measurements that you done?
So it's just like, so he asked what our measurements were. So you'll find a start point on your pipe, right? Because it's not all going to be, cut 1/2 inch. So what I do is I'll lay that pipe up if you can. Say you've got your coupling down here, right, and you're measuring for that offset. What I'll do is I'll measure my offset first, which is going to give me how big an offset I want. And so from the wall to the edge of the pipe, I'm at like 1.5 inches. I had said 2 because I tried to want to be close, but really I probably could have done a 3 or 2.5 inch. I'm trying to get it as close so it doesn't look, you know, like a pull-up bar on it. But once you find your start point and the size of the offset that you want, you're just going to hit your start point. I'm going to go a little bit bigger this time, that way it looks better. So I'm going to start it at 4 inches this time. And we'll say we want a 4-inch offset, right? So your multiplier's 2 on that if you're doing 30 degrees. So if you're doing, 22.5, it's 2.6. If you're doing a 45, your multiplier is 1.4. If you're doing a 60 degrees, it's 1.2. I've always done 30-degree offsets just because the math is easy. You can't really do them for every single one, but the majority of them you're going to be doing. Try to make your math easy, because the more pipe you put up, the better it looks, right? Instead of your giant boneyard like your teacher's got over here. So my start point's at 4. It's also nice to have a tape with a nice standoff to it and a magnetic end. So start point's 4. If I want a 4-inch offset, we'll want 8 inches. We'll want 8 inches between our start point and our bend. So if I'm starting at 4, we'll go to 12. And that's our first offset. And then depending on how much space, which I really cut it quick on that one. So let's put 10 inches in between. So that would be your next start point. And then another 8 inches, and that's your end. See if this one turns out any better. Probably won't, but. So a lot of this, it's not an exact science. I can give you offset formulas, but like as you've seen that last pipe, it's doing it multiple days and trying through trial and error. You know, there's some things that you may find that are easier ways to do offsets than the exact, I think they did that alternate method out of the book. That was the first time I had heard of the alternate method. But let's see if this one turns out any better. You can do them on the floor too. And put your torpedo level. One of your torpedo levels, it's an exact, there's a 45 and a 30 on there. And it'll tell you when to stop so you're not guesstimating. But we're starting here at our start point where that mark's at. And you're trying to match that plane there. Like I said, less is more. And I usually go past it and then bring it back so I can see whether I'm dogged or not, and then bring it back. When I'm saying dogged, and you know, dog leg, that's when it's kinked. So between these two, you're going to have pretty much the same angle. So I didn't flip between here. I'll only flip on this one. Especially if you got a new bender like these, it'll hold it pretty tight for you. It's the older ones that you end up fighting. That one looks better. I might be a little bit open on my second one. So if you've gone too far, you're closed. If you haven't got enough, you're still open. Like if your journeymen are talking about that, oh, you're a little bit open on that one. But I would say that's acceptable. It's a lot bigger than that other one, but a lot of times when you get done, I just check it on the wall, and if it looks good on the wall like that, it'll probably look good when it's covered by T-grid, right? Or like this. But I can try a 3-point saddle. I haven't done it in one forever. I never really liked 3-point saddles because they were so easy to mess up. But same concept. You've got, say your start point's 10. Actually, on 3-point saddles, you start at your middle. So we'll start at 20, right? Same multipliers, same everything. So say we want 4 inches. 3-point saddles are a little bit better for, like, if you've only got one pipe to go over and you just kind of want a nice little one so you can kind of ease them in. I'm just going to do 4 and 4, actually. I'll give myself a little leeway here. Let's go 6 and 6. So on 3-point saddles, like I said before, you start what happens when you forget your start point. You start at the middle, and it's a 45 degree. And then the next two are 22s, or 22 and a half. and you're bending both of them opposite of that 45. See if this works. I haven't done one forever. So yeah, it doesn't look super pretty, but all it is just a little bump. So it's definitely big enough, right? But so you'll have kicks. So sometimes we don't necessarily want to bend an offset right before we get into a box, right? Because it's kind of hard to bend that offset and that stub right there. So you can kick it and a lot of times you'll throw your torpedo level on there so you can show that it's level. And kick it just enough that you can get into your KO, right? That one's a little bit over. If you're over on your kicks, take a little bit out. Just make sure you're holding your 90 so your 90 doesn't get messed up. That offset's messing with me. But as far as concentric with the radiuses and stuff, good luck. I never was that good. A lot of the times I was building racks. You can't really see one in here, but kind of like this here. But big refrigeration racks, and it was all getting buried. I wasn't doing a whole lot of exposed. But when you run strut or Kendorf, some guys call it Kendorf strut, it just makes your life about 1,000 times easier because you can carry like a set of Lymans for your spacing, or like a 1-inch pipe or whatever, and then just set your spacing on it, and then you put that spacing in between every one and it'll all line up. So anybody got questions? Okay. You guys are more than welcome to mess with the pipe and stuff.